February 12th. McDaniel, would you do the invocation, and Mayor, would you do the pledge of allegiance?
Would you please bow your heads and pray with me? Heavenly Father, thank you for your goodness. Thank you for this evening and the opportunity to serve the residents of Streetsboro. Lord, I pray that you give all of us who have an authority position clear thought, clear communication, and I ask that all that we do tonight would ultimately glorify you, Father. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Caroline, will you please call roll?
Mr. Rigg.
Here.
Mr. Mishnak. Here. Mr. Hannon.
Here.
Mr. Lombardo. Ms. Wagner.
Here.
Ms. McDaniel.
Present.
Ms. Flynn.
Here.
Disposition of minutes, Special Safety Committee meeting of July 24th, 2023, and a regular Safety Committee meeting of August 14th, 2023. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, those minutes are accepted. Old business, there is none. New business, T 7547, support HB 321 for statewide special needs database. Chief Reinhold.
Thank you. Caroline brought this to my attention. Evidently, the clerk of council in Broadview Heights sent it out to other clerk of councils around the counties. And what it is it's just a resolution that we would recommend and would like for the state committee to come up with a special needs database. They've been working on it for quite a while, but it's kind of stalled. I tell you recently, the police department, Officer Bartholomew and Captain Novotny from the fire department, we had a class on autism. And the instructor was a mother who had an autistic child. And she came out and gave us a class. And I was just taken aback as to what special needs, and one in particular, how we would be handling it. Because when we come into your house, we ask you 1,001 questions. You know, where's the pain? What kind of medical history? And we gather around you, you get their vital signs and all the data. Well, that's probably one of the worst things we can do for this particular special needs. So she gave us some insight as to how to handle it, a special bag that can help the patient muffle out outside interference, audible and visual, that might cause the person to react violently or whatever. So it was a great class, and Patrolman Bartholomew from the PD has been working on this, and Captain Novotny joined in, and we wanted to have something locally, voluntarily, through the school board or through the city, that in the CAD system, we get advanced information. So it'd be nice to know that we're responding to 123 Main Street. You have a special needs child there, and this way we can be better prepared instead of walking into something and aggravating a situation. And this here would kind of encourage the committee to move a little faster and come up with a state database, which is voluntary, on the parents' part, so that it'd be statewide. So we'd have information which would benefit the patient immensely and the family. So when I saw this, I saw what Broadview Heights did, and I figured, you know what, it'd be a good idea to bring it to council tonight and see what your reaction is and see if you're interested in passing a resolution, just to put a little pressure on the state to come up with a database. It'd be very helpful.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. When I first read this, when I was just briefly reading it, I was like taken aback, because I'm never a fan of the government creating databases on personal citizens. However, reading that as voluntary, and the parents would volunteer that information to benefit their children, I can see great value in that. When you mentioned that we were working on it locally, were we working on something similar where the parents would volunteer it? Because the one thing and this one part of it does kind of concern me, is that, let's say you you get a call and you go and there's a special needs child there, and then you just go back and decide to put something in the database without the parent's consent, saying, hey, we responded to this address, we know there's a special needs here. And that would be the government creating database. So I'm just hoping we wouldn't do that, and it would be up to the
can't
parents.
legally. There's a
Okay,
HIPAA.
good.
HIPAA prevents us from sharing medical information.
Okay.
We can't even have a wrong report laying on the desk, even though it's electronic now, because we can't share your information.
Yeah.
So it'd be voluntary on the parents' part to give us the information or not.
Yeah.
And based on the training we had, it seems like the general consensus is the parents want us to be aware of the situation. Because right now, with the dispatch we have in the CAD system, if we respond to all the industrial places where the Knox box is, where the fire department connection, because we can't memorize all this.
Sure.
So we have stuff in the database that alerts us to what we're going into, so, we can be better prepared for it, and ultimately it benefits the patient.
Yeah, I'm all for a voluntary list if parents want to do that to help their children and help our first responders deal with what could be difficult situations. So that's all I have to say.
Anybody else? Okay.
There's no other discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none, we'll move this to tonight's full council. Item B, T7548, accept OCJS grant for body worn cameras. Chief Wayne.
Back in 2023, we applied for a grant through OCJS for new body-worn cameras for the department. We found out about 2 weeks ago that we were one of 5 departments in the county that did receive money for the grant, and we're getting $20,134, which is a full upgrade and replacement of everything that we currently have. That's a pretty significant chunk of change that we're very happy to get. We need to buy the cameras first, and then we'll get reimbursed through OCJS. It upgrades everything that we do have to a 4G camera, which is going to be significantly better footage than we get right now. It also replaces all the docks and tethers, so they can so they can charge in the cars, and also the docks, we can charge them at the station, and the uploading docks. It takes us from, I believe we're in Gen 2 or 3 and at least up to Gen 4. These will also have the capability of, when they're in the vicinity of a Wi-Fi or upgraded to have Wi-Fi, that they can actually be monitored live as well. And they will also have a GPS function, so should there ever be a time if an officer goes down and we can't find them, we can use the GPS to track them.
Mr. Ray.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Chief Wayne, this is fantastic. I just had a question about compatibility. Do we have a separate, are the in-car cameras a separate system, or do they all use the same system? And if so, will these be compatible?
It's all GTAC. So when all of our footage is uploaded, downloaded, however you want to describe it, to the system, they're all together and it all plays together. So if you want one video watching, say, a traffic stop, you can bring up front camera, rear camera, and body cam and watch them all, and it will sync the audio so you can hear what's going on in each. It's the same system we have now, just as the technology ages out, this is advancing us. The other thing that we have is our current cameras. They are still in really good condition and really good shape, so we hope that we might be able to get some money back through like a Gov Deals or just an outright sale.
Thank you.
Mr. Oxnard.
The upgrade to 4K it's gonna suck up a lot more of your storage towers too. How are you doing on that? And do you need us to purchase more storage for you? Because at 1080 going up to 4K is going to use significantly more storage space.
We currently keep based on the retention schedule, and then things cycle out. We do have data stored. It's all up on the cloud through GTAC. So we do have a lot of cases stored that don't necessarily have to be as they get disposed of. What we need is somebody that has the time and the ability to sit down in front of the computer and cross-reference between cases that have been closed out in court that we can get rid of so we can clear up some of the data sources. Most of our stuff is not held significant periods, so it's constantly dropping off. Matt would probably be better knowledge based on if we're going to be significantly struggling in data storage. I'm afraid that's not really my wheelhouse. So far, we've not come close to what GTAC has said. You guys have reached close to your limit. And like I said, it's always something that we can. We have an officer that's going to come back onto late duty, and he's going to be doing a lot of cross-referencing because he's very restricted on what he'll be able to do. So we're going to have him sitting down and saying, okay, this 2019 case is been pled out, sentence has been completed, that can be wiped off the system because we just don't need it anymore. And there's a lot like that can probably go.
So it's all cloud storage then? You pay like a monthly fee, or is it just with the contract for the year?
It's all tied in together with the Midwest Public Safety and GTAC storage.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I should say, I'm sorry, also with this, I think it's coming up separate, but it was all written up together, is the purchase through Midwest Public Safety. It's the same company that we've gotten everything through before and have had really good luck with them. They're the vendor for GTAC.
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to move T7548 and T7549 to full council.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Both are moved to tonight's full council. Letter D, T7550, written mutual aid agreement with Aurora. Chief Wayne.
Another thing, back in '23, Prosecutor Viglucci mentioned to agencies that typically use mutual aid with each other should have a written agreement. Aurora found one, which was an agreement, because we don't like to reinvent the wheel. It was an agency in Southern Portage County that was using it with their mutual aid partners. We brought it up here. It's bounced between both police departments, both law departments, to make sure that everybody's covered and happy with what's in it. Basically, we've had a verbal agreement for decades. Aurora's always been our go-to should we need backup. And this is just putting down in writing what we've always been doing.
Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. So I'm reading that the main points covering the agreement are recognizing both Streetsboro and Aurora PD have the authority to render mutual assistance while maintaining full police authority in either jurisdiction. This isn't going to give Aurora the authority to pull people over for traffic stops within our city and things to that nature, is it?
No, this is only if we request that they come down for mutual aid. Now, in that likeness, I guess if what we're looking for is a potential OVI and we are all tied up on something and we say, Aurora, can you come down? Paige, can you come down 43? I guess in that particular instance, then yes, they could.
Well, if you're requesting
yeah, they're
it.
coming down and running and speed enforcement in the city. This is a requested effort. We call them, and typically that is the case. We call them down when we're busier. Our call volume's significantly higher than theirs. We call them down. I would probably say 95% of the time it's us calling them versus them calling us. They come down, say all of our officers are tied up at something, they can go to a crash and they can handle that, whether or not there's a site involved. It just gives them the authority to come down and help out and maintain full authority like they have in Aurora, similar to if we had to go up there, we would maintain our full police powers.
Yeah, Mr. Benny, I'm just reading through this. I don't understand. I don't see where that, and I'm not saying it'll ever happen. I just worry about having things or contracts out there that aren't very clear. And like, in section 2 here, it says, when Aurora's police officers are rendering assistance in Streetsboro in areas within the corporate limits of Streetsboro and not in Aurora, they shall have full police authority commensurate with the authority enjoyed by Streetsboro's police officers. It doesn't say only when they've been requested to or anything to that nature. So to me, it sounds like they can come into Streetsboro and they have jurisdiction in our town, regardless if we request it or not. And I'd like to avoid that.
That's only when they're requested.
I don't see where it says where they only request it.
Well, that's what mutual aid is.
I understand that, but it's not spelled out.
The second paragraph, desire to provide mutual aid, interchange, and use of their police personnel. The last sentence says department needs and requests the assistance of the other. I mean, that wording is typical in our arena as to getting mutual aid and asking for assistance, that then no interpretation for either police department is to just go up and go rogue.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it is, and I love mutual assistance. It's obviously necessary. I just like to protect us, that's all, and our citizens. So I asked the question to make sure that we're covered. That's all I have. Thank you.
Make a motion to send this to its regular things. That's you.
Do we need one just with Aurora, or I know we have other surrounding cities that we use for mutual aid, but I'm just curious why just Aurora?
This is just the first start.
So
We don't typically, State Patrol has jurisdiction here. They don't typically ask us, they do, ask us to come out. So really the agreements will have to be slightly different, because if the Sheriff's Department or State Patrol asks us to come out and help, which they do on occasion, it's not the mutual, because they both have jurisdiction to come in. So this isn't exactly the same agreement. And this has been a work in progress for a couple months just to get this one to the way that we need it. And Aurora is our main partner in this. So I wanted to start with the one that we use the most.
I was just thinking more so, because we do business with other cities as well. Like we have Shalersville, for example. We have a JED with Shalersville, and I don't know what responsibility we have for, mutual aid with them, but seeing that we have something in that township.
That's the Sheriff's Department's jurisdiction. Yeah, we don't go out there unless they call.
I'm not just talking about for police, I'm also talking about for fire. Like if we ever need a mutual aid agreement with them, since we have some sort of business with them as well.
Yeah, the fire department's a little different. We live and die by mutual aid. Everybody around us is mutual aid. Shalersville, Twinsburg, Kent, and then we can actually go and declare for state emergency aid from all over the state. So that's built into the way we respond. Like East Palestine, they were calling from people all over the state to come down there, and they didn't have it in writing, but the state took care of that. We belong to it. So the fire's a little different. The call comes in, somebody's got to go until we figure out what's going on there. So yeah, we have mutual aid with all our communities around us, and then there's different circles. What's around us, then there's another circle, because we don't want to draw everybody immediately around us. And if another call comes in, then you go to the outer circle, and it's even delayed longer, the response time. So we carefully look at what departments are coming in on which alarms. But a typical house fire will have Manaway, Kent, Twinsburg, Reminderville, and Aurora, just on a fire. And if it's a high hazard, then we bring in some more. So it's very common.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to have in writing. I just would hate to see it ever get to the point where it's like, yeah, sorry, we don't have a mutual aid agreement with you. We're not coming to help you, or someone's not coming to help us, regardless of.
Mutual aid, like what they're both saying, or even us. Too, at Streetsboro, it depends on where the incident occurred. If it's closer to the Twinsburg line, Twinsburg's coming. If it's close to Aurora, we have that with Reminderville and Twinsburg. It could be Aurora that helps them. It could be Twinsburg that helps them. It just depends on where you're at in the city, too, of who's coming quicker. Because at the end of the day, we need to get them there as quick as we can.
Let's go to the party.
Yeah, and too, you don't think about it. You just, when there's a big incident going on, you're just dispatch, just calling. Whoever's coming, we're coming. We're getting canine canines from wherever we can get them from. Sometimes that's how it works out too.
Like I said, we just started with Aurora because for decades, I mean, since I started, whenever they heard something happening in our town, they would always just start heading towards their border. And that way, as soon as we asked for help, they would be coming down and they'd be a lot closer.
Yeah. Well, like, and then you said that, what is it? You said the prosecutor, I believe.
Prosecutor Viglucci was the one that initially said that we should have this. I'm not sure where it came from. It wasn't something that we needed
But like seeing
really
that we
firmed up in our opinion, but he suggested it.
Seeing that we use, Twinsburg, I'm assuming, for mutual aid, they're in a different county. So like, who's to say that they have to have an actual agreement with us in the future?
It's not stopping. If Twinsburg called and asked us for help right now, Hudson, Kent, Ravenna, we're going. As long as we have the capability of it, we're going, regardless of whether we have this paper or not. This just firms up something that we do a lot more often. But as I said, if something happened in any one of those jurisdictions, everybody's going because everybody's going to help. I mean, Kent State had a firearm discharged on campus that got called in as an active shooter. They had more officers than they knew what to do with, and it had nothing to do with mutual aid agreements. It was just everybody came. Akron SWAT was training in the vicinity, so they had the entire Akron SWAT team show up for it. So the mutual aid assistance is going to happen regardless. He suggested firming it up, so we started it. And like I said, with the Aurora just being our probably 95% of the time, I wanted to get them started first and then look to see how we can word stuff for agencies that have countywide jurisdiction, but we need it potentially to go to their jurisdiction because occasionally State Patrol will call us for help with a crash outside, at least till they can get there. And the SO will call us to help outside of our jurisdiction if they're on the other side of the county and it's taken them a while to get there or they need extra manpower at a scene. Kent, we don't use too often. Maybe a canine every now and then. I don't know if that's what this agreement was really meant for, but they're kind of a little segregated away from us because of Twin Lakes.
The last question I had was, what is the length of it? I see that it says that you can withdraw with 60 days notice, but is there like an overall, it leaves it blank currently, but I didn't know if it was open-ended.
They've been our mutual aid for, I've been here almost 30 years, and I remember as a trainee, Aurora showing up to help out with stuff. It's always been.
No, I get it. If we're making a contract, it's nice to have.
Mr. Mishniak may know why. I don't know why.
There's a
Vic
statute,
suggested it.
that authorizes 550229. It authorizes cities to enter into these agreements, but it also enables you to just go, like you said, we're just going to go. And basically it says all tort liability, all civil liability, everything that happens is to be treated as if Streetsboro's in Streetsboro, even though maybe an officer goes and is responding and hits somebody by accident and kills them in Aurora. Aurora would not be responsible for our officer. So when we go, it's as if we were in our own town. And so the statute suggests that mutual aid agreements be drafted, but doesn't put any restrictions on them. And actually it says it overrides the tort liability portion of it, overrides anything that you put to the contrary. So we could do a mutual aid agreement that lays out tort liability and the state statute trumps it and says, nope, you guys are each in your corner. You each have your own insurance, your own stuff. If something happens to Streetsboro while they're in Hudson, it's as if it happened in Streetsboro, statute-wise. So.
And that is something that is addressed in here, is that injury responsibility, like vehicle damage, equipment damage, and all that. Everything is it's all like we're in our home, And at the same time, when if Streetsboro has to go to Aurora, they have to abide by our policies. They can't go up and be a little crazy because they're in another city. They have to abide by our policies and
basically,
procedure.
550229 just authorizes mutual aid in general and keeps that governmental immunity in place for anybody that would try to sue. say somebody said, oh, I got worked on by a Streetsboro paramedic, and I'm from Hudson. Streetsboro's got substandard paramedics, so I'm going to sue them, It's be the same situation as if it happened in Streetsboro, so. It's just a series of agreements.
Mr. Mayor.
John, all the agencies around us, including OSP and the Sheriff's Office, they all monitor each other's channel. They know when stuff is going south. And it was a few years back now where we had the melee in the old plaza with the riot that broke out, and our officers, called for help, and we had a boatload of help in a very little bit of time, and cops and firemen are all alike. When they hear something's happening, they all want to be there, and when they hear it over the radio, sometimes they're just on their way, and like Steve says, with the ORC, it says that you're covered because we know that people are going to need help, and they want to be there doing it.
Makes sense. That's all I had.
Anybody else?
Make a motion.
The ring?
Yeah, I just, given what Steve just said, wonder why we even need this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the
Prosecutor wanted, he wanted it.
The prosecutor, this started with the prosecutor. It wasn't anything that the chief in Aurora said, we need to have this. And it wasn't anything that I said, oh, we need to firm this up because.
the prosecutor's office for us having this?
The benefit to the residents or our citizens, so that there's an agreement in place and it eliminates any confusion. And I think it also, without it, somebody may try to use the statute itself in 5502 to do exactly what you're saying. Just go in and park at the corner of Page and Lena and run traffic or something. All the language in our local mutual aid agreement and the state statute all use like when responding to, when participating in. So it's, just incorporated by reference. I've called for your help. Not that you can just roll up and park and do traffic. I've been with the office 26 years. I've never seen anybody try to do normal ordinance enforcement as part of a mutual aid agreement. It's always in response to a shorthandedness, and it's always been in response to a request. I've never seen anyone try to. I think there would be no venue for the criminal citation for the officer who's there, because their political subdivision that they're authorized in would, in my example, would be Aurora, not Streetsboro. So if they were to go testify in Muni Court and say, yeah, I was sent to Lena Road, in the Streetsboro part of it, and the factories, and I was running radar, the judge would say, well, you don't have jurisdiction to be there. You would have statutory if you were responding to an emergency and you went there and you chased some guy down and tackled him that was OBI that hit 3 cars at the square and you caught up with them, you would have jurisdiction because you were requested. So it only protects the residents and citizens to have the agreement in place. It doesn't open a window for nefarious, overzealous police operations. But don't trust me, I work at the prosecutor's office.
It's true.
We're always trying to get you guys. This is the way.
Careful, you might be quoted.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council 7, citizens' comments. Seeing none. Announcements, the service committee meeting will immediately follow this meeting. Motion to adjourn.
No, not the one that was. Caroline, whenever you're ready, Caroline. Okay, I'd like to call this service committee meeting to order Monday, February 12th, 2024. Caroline, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Mishnak?
Here.
Mr. Hannan?
Here.
Mr. Lombardo?
Here.
Ms. Wagner?
Here.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Present?
Mrs. Glenn?
Here.
3, disposition of minutes, regular service committee meeting of January 8th, 2024.
Motion to accept as written.
Second.
Motion to accept in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. 4, old business, there is none. 5, new business. A, update on the water meter replacement program. Mr. Bill Miller.
Okay, the water meter replacement program got off to a start last week. Obviously, there was a lot that hit the online stuff. But as to date, we have 364 meters in today, 315 more appointments scheduled. So that was 1 week. Last week, the service and water guys put out 3,500 tags. Audrey said we are getting a great response from the residents. She is the one that takes all the appointments. Now, I did have some questions that were on the appointments that they're not getting to them in time. Like after the weekend, she might get 100 calls. Just so you guys know that she goes back to the first call and starts calling them in order. So sometimes with the calls that are coming in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, she's like this last weekend, she had 100 plus calls that she had to make up because they don't work Saturdays and Sundays. So if a resident would, say that we're not getting back to them, it will happen. It'll happen in the order that they're coming. Plus, she still is taking other calls as that happens. So I just had a meeting today, and they were also trying to get a second answers put in there to help her out. So hopefully in the near future that happens. There was also some questions about the radio reads fax. I sent you guys all an email if you got that, if we got any questions. The large meters are hopefully tentatively scheduled towards the end of the month. We're still waiting for all the parts to come in to start that one. But I'll update you once those start going in. So we're going to have, at the end of the month, beginning of the next month, we're going to have the large meters and the residentials going all at one time. And then they are also switching their schedule Wednesday to Wednesday, 10-hour days, working Saturday and Sunday. Everything is by appointment only. And then they're going to have 6 days off, and then they'll reschedule. If we get enough calls and more people keep scheduling, well, obviously, they're going to bring more people in to accommodate it. So we're kind of just flowing with them and trying to keep them as efficient as they can go.
Okay.
Is there any questions on that part yet? I just want to go over some of the tagging that we're doing also.
I just wanted to say ahead, Mr. Miller, I appreciate the conversation today. I asked about the customer service portion of it, which you obviously answered, so I appreciate that. I know they're busy and only one person, so from the response I've seen on social media, some people, get a response right away, and obviously some people, might have been at the end of that call list, but the good thing is that their calls are being returned, and I appreciate you addressing that with them today.
Yeah, and hopefully that shortens up if they keep coming and we get an extra person.
Right.
She gets help, so.
What is, on the customer service end of it, what is our city's responsibility if someone calls City Hall to try and schedule? I'm not on city water, so I don't have a tag, I don't get the information on my water bill, so.
Yeah, the tag gives them the phone number to call. It says it on it. I don't know if you read the tags. I thought I sent copies, maybe.
I did, yeah.
So it directs them to them, that way they can manage it. If there's any issues that I have to go to them, we will go to them.
Okay.
But we work with them on that,
Yeah. Perfect. That's all I had on that.
Okay. I know it's going to take a while. How long do you think, or how long do you anticipate?
I am still pushing for June 30th.
Oh, okay.
So that is my target. I'm going to stay on them because that's really when I need to be done, because our software on the Neptune end of our old meters runs out at that point. So
okay,
that's still my schedule, and I'm still going to keep that iron in the fire as long as I can.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Miller?
Yeah, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to go over the tags so everybody understands what we're doing.
Okay, I was going to ask other questions, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, these tags went out first.
Yeah.
The next set of tags, we're going to wait probably 3 weeks, a month. Once the appointments slow down, I'm going to go ahead and second tag them. On here, it's going to say the second tag. So as this goes, as long as we're getting appointments, I'm not going to go to the third tag. But right now, we're going to do the first tag. As soon as that starts slowing down, we're not getting the appointments to keep these guys busy. Whoever didn't respond, we're going to go re-tag them. And then the process will go to the third tag. Now, the third tag is going to be a 7-day shut-off notice. They have to respond to set an appointment. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, they're wasting everybody's time. I can't keep putting out tags. It's, you know, and that's our normal tagging process. We tag 7 days, they call, they set an appointment. Those appointments would still go through Evan Core at that point. When I go to get them, if I have to shut people off, then it'll go directly to the city. That way I have control of it.
Mm-hmm.
As of date, we haven't had too many issues with that so far.
Okay. Mr. Hannon?
So with, one of the questions that kind of has been floated out there, I guess there might be some confusion on what is the process to opt out. And I will say it, you know, I understand that for the process to work, it has to be universal. And I'm not in favor of an opt-out, but since we're in a public meeting, if you could just explain, you know, like our conversation today, you mentioned that obviously it's a different meter, there's a different software, you know, why people can't opt out and why this has to be.
Yeah, our software won't support Neptune equipment, which is the old meter system. So once we get this all switched out, everybody has to be on that meter to be able to be properly billed from the city. I won't be able to read them, basically.
I get it. I mean, I'm in favor of the new technology. Can you just go over, just since we do have some residents in the audience, some of the benefits of why we're switching to it? Clear that up.
Well, there's a lot of benefits for us. Right now, we have to do drive-by reads. Mm-hmm. So I have to send a guy out, and it does essentially the same thing that we're getting out of it. But now we got 2 collectors out there. Any final reads, when we go to get the reads, the clerks can just go ahead and hit read, and it'll read the whole system for us, the billing. So that happens immediately. If we have a final read, somebody's moving out, we don't have to send a guy out to get the worker out there to get the final read. They can do it all from City Hall. Second, this thing sends out a transmission every 3 hours, like under a second. So it kind of monitors the meter. If there's a leak in the house, it will flag us at the computers, and that detects us. That has us, when they go through their work orders in the morning, they can see that. We've already had it happen with one person. It flags us, we look at it, and we can call and see if there's something wrong. If the house was getting ready to freeze, being in the cold weather right now, the meter, as soon as that meter hits 42 degrees, it alerts us that it's not warm in that house. So either we try to contact the customer, resident, or if we get no response, we can at least go shut them off so the water doesn't spew all through their house.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits that way. We had 2 or 3 days after we put a few of the meters in, somebody in that cold spell turned resident's hose on, and it was running for 2 days. Well, the meter picked it up, and we called and let her know. Well, that bill would have been, if it would have ran for the quarter, would have been $3,000. We stopped it in a couple days. That's a huge benefit. You know, we don't want to waste water, and we don't want to have these residents have huge water bills.
And same goes for the city. If there's a water main break somewhere, we're able to detect that.
Once they're all in the residential areas, we got acoustic water detection on them meters themselves. So if the resident's line is leaking or our line out front is leaking, they will communicate together and let us know that there's a problem in that area. And then we can troubleshoot that to help with the water loss and get to these leaks before they actually blow. And then we've got a real, we lose thousands of gallons of water. But that'll be better effective once the whole system's in. So there's a lot of benefits to everybody on this.
Well, I appreciate the the response. Maybe in a couple months or something, just give us an update on, where you're at. If, because if there's an issue with, I don't know how many water meters we have to put in, but if we're still like,
There's 5,000, over 5,000, so.
we have like, thousands of issues with people not wanting to put water meters in, obviously, then something.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated as it goes, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to call. I mean, if I don't have the answer, I'll get it for you, so.
And you did that today, so I appreciate that. That's all I had.
Ms. Wagon?
If there's a leak or someone's toilet's running, whatever, how long before a notification is sent? Like, how quick will you know that there's an issue at the reservoir?
24 hours. It has to run for 24 hours to consider there's abnormal use there.
Okay, just curious.
Thank you. Ms. McDaniel?
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. Thank you, Mr. Miller. This is an exciting update, I know, for many people. I do have a couple of questions. You mentioned tonight that we are no longer going to have a software that can read the meters that are
Currently in there, yep.
I'm just curious. I am for an opt-out. Sounds like, as it stands, that's not possible. But I am curious if there are people who do not want this. Is our only option as a city shut their water off? Can we have both for the few that want to opt out, if any? Have you had anybody say, I don't want this, or is everybody?
Yeah, I won't have any way to read their meters without getting in their house. That's just not practical.
You couldn't drive by anymore?
No.
Okay.
We're on a different software.
I'm asking if there were many people wanting opt-out, or even a few, honestly.
I guess I don't personally understand why, because any meter that the city would have went through is this new technology system.
The reason it comes to mind for me, in the state of Ohio, there's actually a law requiring opt-outs for electric meters. So there is different technology, and this is more advanced technology. And there are a lot of benefits to that, but some people don't want it. And so I think about those electric meters where opt-outs are a requirement. So somehow that utility is functioning in a different way. I know it's different than water, but I'm just thinking about it that way. And if we have residents who say, I do not want this for whatever reason, I don't think they have to justify it. If there'd be any way we can serve them instead of saying, well, we're just shutting you off.
The electric meters actually go out and read your meter at the outside.
Right. I was just wondering if we could.
You wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay. I didn't know if we could maintain the old system for some, is what I'm thinking.
Yep.
Could we still drive by and scan some?
No, the old it's the same technology that these have. You still drive by and it picks it up. There's no actual, I can't go out to the outside of the house and look at gallons or the cubic feet.
Okay, it seemed different to me in that you drove by and got a reading versus the every 3 hours or so. It seemed like a different thing.
It does the same thing. It just doesn't do it as a city base. So I have to get so close to your house for that to pick up on my antenna on my truck.
Have you had many people push back against this?
I've only talked to one.
Okay, all right.
So.
And then I had another question. Does the water department staff have a good understanding of this technology if residents call in with questions? And the only reason I ask, I did have a resident call me and say, I called, I had some questions, and I'm being told these are not smart meters. Everything I see on Camstrup's website says they are a smart utility. Does everybody have just the right info to disseminate if called?
We're thinking we can fund that aspect too. So if that's something that I need to look into is more training, that's not an issue.
Yeah, I think maybe just so it's clear what these are so the staff can say with confidence, yes, this is what they are, so there's no confusion, because there did seem to be some discrepancies.
Yep, I can work on that fact as soon as tomorrow.
Great.
Camstrups. It's not an issue.
All right. Any more questions for Mr. Miller? Okay, moving on to item B. T7557, authorize annual water line replacement and repair parts. Mr. Miller. Bill Miller.
This is just our annual ordinance allowing us to spend the money in the water line replacement repair parts. We do this yearly. Just a standard ordinance.
Okay. Mr. Rainey.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. Mr. Miller, is this for like ancillary repairs, like unexpected repairs, so you have the parts available?
Any repairs throughout the year.
Just so you have the parts available, right? So if something happens to break and you need a part, you have it.
Yeah, because I will with these same companies go over border control aspects.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to spend over $5,000 on each one of them.
This isn't any part of any water line project, right? This is
strictly
annual.
for
Okay.
repair parts and then storage parts, so we have them in there, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ring. Any other questions? Did you have any? Okay. All right, is there a motion for?
No further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this will go to tonight's full council. C, T7558, authorize annual hydrant replacement and repair parts. Mr. Bill Miller.
This is similar, it's just a hydrant line, the 501-52-5742, it's repair parts as the water line and to keep stock parts in.
You mean like when people run them over in their car?
Yeah. 2 of them in the last couple of weeks.
No further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
Motion and a second to move to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this goes to tonight's full council. Letter D, T7559, authorize annual asphalt paving products and services. Mr. Bill Miller.
It's the same concept for all my asphalt line item repairs, different companies, and that comes out of my 401-615717 paving line, but it's for any kind of repairs that we have to do on the roads.
Okay.
No further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
Motion and a second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none. E, T7551, annual maintenance agreement with Signal Services. Mr. Bill Miller.
This is our annual hourly rate for signal service. They do all our traffic signals and any streetlights that I cannot get to as a service. They specialize in both of them. So if we try and repair our streetlights, but if we can't, we use signal service to do it. And it's $70 an hour on a per call basis.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Ring.
On the labor rate, it's $70 an hour. It says there will be a 1.75 hour port to port charge. Is that meaning anytime we call them, they're charging us at least $1.70 or 1.75 hours?
To come out and come back.
Just to come out and go back? So we're paying them for drive time? And then $70 an hour for the actual work they do?
Yep.
Okay.
Hopefully you can fix it.
Yeah.
Most of their average street light bills are like traffic lights are $300 to $400 on an average for just a street.
To change a light, the bulb, like a
For a
bulb?
traffic light.
How long does it take you guys to change one?
Some of them we can't get up high enough to do, or they're just a bigger, taller light.
Is that you can do? Like, how long does it usually take to change a bulb?
For the ones that we can get up on, probably half an hour.
And how many servicemen does it take to change a light bulb?
Thanks, Tom. What a segue.
Too many, all right?
Is there a motion?
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
Motion and a second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. F, T7552, 2-year contract with GPD for engineering services. Mr. Cheka.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. These are basically renewals of 2-year contracts with, they're in 2 separate ordinances here, but with GPD and EDG to support the department. So we do these every 2 years. And I'll answer any questions you guys may have.
Mr. Ring.
I don't have a question, but when these come up, are you able to provide, just for future reference, like what the previous rates were and what the new rates are? Because like here we have the rates, but I don't know how much they're going up or if they're going up or if they're going down.
They are going up. But yeah,
I'm assuming they are, but
I can provide those. I won't quote the percentage, but I can send those to you.
well, yeah, if you could send them now, that's fine. But just for future reference, like if you bring us something like this,
Sure.
love just to see the difference so
Great
we know
idea.
what we're getting into.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to send this to tonight's full, well, see T7552 and T7553 to tonight's full count.
Second.
Motion and second to move T7552 and T7553 to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that goes to tonight's full council. T7554, apply for and accept BRIC grant for stormwater study. Mr. Checkeye.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. This one kind of hits close to my heart because I used to live in this project location. So the federal government has money for studies to build resilient communities, which basically will help with any flooding mitigation. There has been flooding in this area. Luckily, it's all surface flooding, but we need a better way of moving the water from the west side of 14 through the Valley Brook subdivision and then behind the service department. So this study is through the federal government. It's paid for grant through the federal government. It's going to cost approximately $148,000. $37,000 of that money will come from us, and it'll come out of our storm sewer fund. And I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Checkeye?
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
Motion and second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. T7555, adopt fourth quarter code updates. Kramer.
Quarterly update to make sure that our online code is accurate. We have hard copies. If any of the council people want their books, the big thick code book updated, bring it in and I'll update it for you. So this is just to make it all official so the police can then cite under those ordinances that are state initiated.
Okay.
With no further discussion, I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
Motion and second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Discuss rental rates for community center. Mr. Miniger.
Hi, thanks. It's exciting times in Parks and Rec, right around the corner. Our new building would be completed, and so we are working towards getting our rental rates and our room rentals, just the application process for residents and non-residents to rent the room, I guess, in order. So I have brought the rates to you for your consideration or to discuss, and then we can, at a later date, put them on for approvals. So currently, we have the large event room that'll host between 140 to 190 individuals based on the seating capacity or how we set the room up, we're estimating. That'd be rented at a resident rate of $90 per hour with a 3-hour minimum. We are asking that setup and tear down of your event be within that time frame. If you need extra time, then that hourly rate would then go into effect. The 2/3 space, which would be the kitchen and the next room over, would be at $60 an hour, again with a 3-hour rental. And then we have a $30 rate for just the kitchen space and the first room. That one does not have to be a 3-hour rental if it's done during normal business hours. It's going to be while our staff is currently there, things like that. We do have security deposits of $250 and $500 for if you're going to have alcohol at your event. And we thought it'd be a good idea to also offer a wedding or banquet package. This would be for a 15-hour rental, so you're not going the hourly rate, and you'd have it pretty much all day Saturday to come in, set up, get ready for your event, and then you can come back in that evening. So I'd like to answer any questions that I can.
Mr. Ring.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. Yeah, I was going through it. I want to go more to the community rental rules and guidelines. I had a couple questions about some things in there.
Okay.
That just stood out to me. So I get the security deposits, obviously. At first I was a little, I questioned why a different security deposit for alcohol, whether you're going to have alcohol there or not. To me, it's irrelevant, but you're figuring drunks are going to tear the place up.
If there's another hole, extra hole in the wall, something like that, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Under return of deposit, there are two questions. Second bullet point, renter arrived earlier to set up or stayed later than it was agreed to. How much earlier and how much later? If I'm there, if I have it till 11 and I get out of there at 11:05, you keeping my deposit?
No, you're fine with that. We're looking at, like, if you're scheduled to be out at 11 and your party ends at 11 and now you're there an hour and a half or 2 hours afterwards, cleaning up, saying goodbyes and doing things like that, then that's an unexpected staff expense that
Sure.
we weren't ready for. I mean, we could have our cleaning company there ready to clean and you're still putting your stuff away. So 5-10 minutes, not a big deal. An hour and a half, yeah.
I think I'd like a little more specificity in there, to be honest with you, in that just.
I could, but once I say 15 minutes on either side,
They're all gonna stay
then it's going to
15
say, oh, well,
minutes.
now I'm 15 minutes
Yeah.
ahead of my 15
I get
minutes.
it.
Yep.
I just worry about because it's when it's to discretion like that. If I rent it out and I was there 15-20 minutes extra and you were like, don't worry about it, but then my neighbor 3 months later rented it out and someone else was like, nah, you were here 20 minutes, we're keeping your deposit. I just worry about those discrepancies when we have discretion,
Right.
when it's not specified. So
I
struggle.
get it.
I understand your point. I just struggle. I struggle with that kind of discrepancy. So just the food for thought.
Okay.
The other one I have issue with, and I would like to see stricken, is the last one. Police were called to the address for an incident. Who cares? If I'm having a house party and they get called for noise, we don't charge the people at the house for the police to come out. Our tax money already pays for a police response. Why should they get their deposit back if just because the police got called? And it's not necessarily the renter's control if the police are called. Maybe I'm pissed at the renter and I'm like, I'm just calling the police on you.
That could be, yeah.
So
I think we're more of the thought process of that there's a large fight or a large something where the police have to come and handle the situation. There could be damage to the property. There could be damage to everything. I mean,
I would say
I think a worst case scenario.
If there's damage to the property, that's already covered. If there's if they leave it messy or in disarray because a huge brawl broke out and everybody got arrested, no one was there to clean, that's already covered. So I just don't think we need that, and I'd prefer to see it taken out.
Okay.
I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I got a couple more real quick. That is on page 2.
Oh, okay.
Under return of deposit, the last bullet point. Under render's responsibilities and general guidelines, number 9 on page 3, all lights must be turned off and doors locked at the conclusion of the event. Are they going to have keys? Or are they going to lock up the joint?
No, they will not have keys. Our staff members will be there.
So we will have staff at all events, right?
That's my anticipation right now, yes.
That was the question that John and I were talking about before the meeting, that if there were going to be staff there at all, or it was just going to be a free-for-all with
No, I don't want to hand over the keys to anybody.
That's why in here, I don't.
I think it's just more of a renter's responsibility. It was just one of the things that just kind of.
I just don't think it should be their.
in.
I don't think it should be their responsibility to lock the building. That's the city's responsibility. I would rather take that out too.
Okay.
Especially if they don't have a means to lock it up. So, the next one under 12. I understand hiring a police officer for alcohol-based events for security. That's kind of a general thing that occurs at a lot of halls. I have no problem with that. But it says that they must have a Streetsboro police officer there. Why couldn't they hire a sheriff's officer, off-duty sheriff, or something to that nature who has jurisdiction here, or statey even if they're available? Why does it have to be a Streetsboro police officer? And my only concern is, nothing against the police department, but I know when these type of events come up, you post it out there for the officers, right? Seniority wise, like, hey, do you want it? No. Do you want it? No. What if nobody can work it? And now we don't have a Streetsboro officer to be able to work it, which probably would rarely happen, but
right.
Why does it have to be a Streetsboro officer?
To be honest, we were following the example that other municipalities have put forth, and they use their departments. I can defer
And you
to.
again, if you have somebody there that's causes a fight, the person can file the assault charge. They have venue, but if they're a Brimfield officer, they have no legal.
Well, yeah, I'm not suggesting other officers. I'm suggesting from cities. I'm suggesting other officers who have jurisdiction, sheriffs or state officers, if that were an option for them to do.
Well,
Twinsburg, we use other officers at facilities in our state, like we have, if we can't get any Twinsburg officers to fill it, which happens because we don't have manpower, sometimes we reach out to Reminderville, we've had Streetsboro, we reach out to county, we reach out Boston Heights, like everywhere.
and then there's just the security.
But they're in a uniform, they have all.
If we're calling them for mutual aid, wouldn't they be?
Not a mutual aid.
I'm just waiting. That's it.
They're not a mutual aid pool, they're just Paul Blart, and then they end up wearing a uniform. And it's like, you're from Brimfield, you don't have venue, you don't have jurisdiction, they're not even under the color of their city at that point.
Right.
So, I support saying that it needs to be a Streetsboro officer, and then if there's some emergency situation, they can hire somebody from the sheriff's department. We're not gonna enforce that contract breach and say, Greg's not gonna be like, you hired a sheriff's deputy.
We're keeping your deposit.
Right, I think it's simple to leave it at Streetsboro, and if they're like, we can't find anyone, you leave it up to, them to budge the agreement if they want to. No judge is gonna step in and be like, you can't do that.
Or if you run into situations where you don't have an officer, what do you do?
All right, sorry, I think I'm back on. Yeah, I did want to, you kind of covered it towards the end. We do get a lot of side jobs that we don't have the staffing. We've had a couple businesses that wanted us, at least, they wanted us 24/7, and then they wanted 2 of us for 24/7. And we physically can't cover that. There's just no way. So what we do is we have a list of all of our surrounding agencies where they potentially want to do side jobs, because some of them just don't. They can't cover the stuff that they have in their department, let alone send their officers to do other stuff. So we've had Aurora, Brimfield, Kent, Sheriff's Department, State Patrol does not. Occasionally Wyndham, Hudson, Twinsburg, Stowe. They have all come in and worked side jobs for us. Should something go sideways, then they're calling patrol officers to come.
Yeah, would it pose an issue if we had an outside officer put cuffs on somebody in that situation?
No, they're still, acting as Paul Blart. They can stop a fight, but like she said, they're gonna have to then call in somebody that has legal authority to do a criminal complaint.
Gotcha.
We do the same thing at our Cleveland clinic. We have our Twinsburg officer there, but he's still calling on the radio for backup when something goes south.
I just think from a civil perspective, leaving it at must be your officer makes that a priority. And then if they're like, chief's like, look, we tried, we don't have anyone. Greg just says, go ahead and get whoever the chief, get the list from the chief, and they'll get you somebody. And nobody's going to enforce that provision against each other. There's no remedy for it,
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I was just wondering why it had to solely be Streetsboro.
Because what'll happen is you'll get somebody that'll come in and be like, well, my cousin's deputy, let's get him.
Yeah.
He'll do it for $20.
That's true.
And then they're like, I'll bring my cousin.
All right, I think those are the only, one more. I don't know if John was going to bring it up, but I'll bring it up anyway since I'm already up here talking. In here, it states that under the event decorations permitted, it says requests for the use of any open flames, including sternos, etc., must be noted on the application and approved in writing. Flameless candles are preferred. Obviously, if you're catering events, you're having sternos, period. I mean, they're coming, they're expected. Can we just make that a uniform question on the application? So it's already in writing? Because to John's point, he said, hey, if I'm planning a wedding and I'm running the event, I might not have the wherewithal to know the caterer is using a sterno to ask you on the application. Then all of a sudden, event day comes and there's a sterno there and you're mad about it. So can we just make it a question on the application? Do you plan on having open flame sterno, whatever you want, however you want to word it, yes or no, and then description of what it will be?
You mean you're asking on the rental request form?
Yeah. So on the actual request form, have a spot to where it asks them and says, are you going to have open flame? And then clarify what that is. Just because really a lot of people may not even understand that there's going to be an open flame there if they're not familiar with the catering or chafing.
So Yeah, so under the special agreements, arrangements with the catering company.
Yeah, just another,
There will open flame heating source be used for food?
something to that, just so they don't have to, because for them to request it from you and then get a yes in writing from you may be something people don't even know to think about.
Yep.
So I just prefer to make it clear for them if that's what we're doing. So that's it, that's all I have.
Were you you brought it up in our conversation, under renter responsibilities and general guidelines, number 8, and you said tobacco.
Oh, I did want to bring that up. Thank you, John. I apologize. I forgot about that. Renter responsibilities and general guidelines, page 3, number 8. Use of tobacco products, including cigarettes, chewing tobacco, and electronic smoking devices, are prohibited in city parks within 150 feet of playgrounds, shelters, ball fields, tennis courts, basketball courts, and other structures. I think we're having a really hard time enforcing no smoking at a wedding that's serving alcohol when we have an outdoor back patio. I mean, what's the plan for that?
If they're outside in the back patio, far enough away from the building that it's not.
Well, they'll be within 150 feet of the
rule for
ball field.
So for the rule for the park is 150 feet away from the active activities of soccer, baseball, basketball, whatever. Any structure. Any structure. Well, because you're blowing smoke into the kids. But if you're at an event that it's a known thing that's going to happen and you're outside of the building, nobody's going to take a tape measure and be like, you are 75 feet away. I mean,
the patio at the back, outside of the back of that room, that ballroom, or whatever you want to call it, is 5 feet from the building, and that's where people are going to go out to smoke during a wedding. That's my point, is that this. I just because you
put a blue circle all the way around.
No, my concern is it's
one of those things that
gonna get carried.
It's not going to be enforced unless it's brought to the attention of needing to be enforced, right? So if you as a smoker are outside on the back patio and you're at a wedding and you are smoking and the renters are like, hey, my guest is smoking and he's not supposed to be smoking, that's the only time that we are staff can be like, hey, you need to back away because you're guest. If the bride and groom or the party host or whatever says, if it's not going to be brought up to an event,
when you give this to somebody who's renting it and go, here are the rules that you have to abide by.
This is a rule for the park. The building's in a park.
Okay, I understand, but you're going to give the rules and regulations of renting the building to the people you're renting to. Here you go. You got to follow these rules.
Okay.
And they're going to be at home looking through them, going, well, crap, I'm having a wedding with alcohol and nobody can, we know the smokers, 100 people coming and they can't smoke. Now I got to worry about enforcing that and they're not going to know they can. And so.
Unless they say, hey guys, you can't smoke, you got to go up to the top of the parking lot.
But they don't, here it's, in that park, you're 150 feet from a playground, a shelter, a ball field, a tennis court, a basketball court, or a structure, anywhere in that park. So, hey, you know what?
150 feet's not that. I mean, that's
sure. You're 150 feet from ball field 7 at that building.
Is that statute already though, or is that?
It's already currently in our parks rules. Yes.
Can't change it.
Sure, we can. We can change anything.
If it's already a statute,
yeah, we can modify it.
You'd have to go then and deal with soccer moms and.
No, I'm just saying making an exception for.
Making it back to where you could smoke and put the kid's helmet on.
I'm just saying making an exception for the rental of, although during the day, maybe we don't want people out there smoking because there are kids out there. Like I'm not saying I'm for or against the smoking. I'm just saying to me it's ambiguous on, okay, you know, you're going to rent a venue out for weddings and people are going to be drinking and there's a lot of smokers. I know there are that are just going to go outside and smoke. And I just don't want it to become an issue in the future.
So when we handle it in the park situation, if it were to come up during a baseball game or something like that, it's asked upon the individual who's smoking, hey,
take it on down the road.
Yeah, can you move down the road? It's supposed to be 150 feet.
Sure.
100 times out of 101 times, he's like, oh, I apologize. Let me walk down here. We're good to go. In this situation, I assume it's going to be the very same thing. I mean, unless you have somebody who's just, no, I'm standing right here and I'm doing this 5 feet outside the door.
I'm just worried about people, like, when you're reading like, if I was gonna rent this, here's what I'm taking home to my future wife and gonna say, all right, here's what we're allowed. Okay, we can't deep fry. Okay, we gotta pick up the trash. Oh, nobody who comes to our party can smoke. Crap, how do we regulate?
Now I couldn't smoke.
It says it's prohibited, and it's going to be
within 150 feet of a
building, and you're in a building. You're 5 feet.
You have to go outside and
walk down the road. Okay. I'm just saying. I don't know. It's going to be. It's to me. It's confusing. It's not even confusing. It just tells people, hey, you have to regulate your guests and make sure they don't smoke anywhere near the building. And if that's what we want, I'm fine. I'm not saying that's not what we want. That's okay. I want to clear up confusion for the renters or for people reading the agreement, thinking, if we're saying, hey, guys, if you rent this out, you can't smoke around this building or around the ball field next to it or around the park next to it or around the basketball court. So you got to walk down the road and have a cigarette. If we're saying that, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. If that's what we want to do, I'm just fine with that. I just want to make sure it's not confusing, and I don't want you to say, hey, if they're out there smoking, we're not going to bother them. And now that there's two different things we're saying. We're saying no, you can't do it, and then we're saying we'll turn our eye, our head. So I want to be clear. I prefer to be clear on everything we do.
And I would say this is the established rule for the park.
Then no smoking at Reynolds.
It's consistent with the park.
I didn't say you couldn't smoke at Reynolds. Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say you couldn't smoke at Reynolds. You just have to be 150 feet from the building. Away from the building. Right.
Mr. Mayor?
Pulled over and the speed limit is 55. You can't carry. Our chief will be going to always, every time, people are going to get confused driving. They're going to get stopped at 60 and not get a ticket, and somebody's going to get stopped at 100 and get a ticket.
Well, that's not confusing, knowing that you have to drive 55.
I think this is confusing. I think your argument is that sucks, that we can't.
No, I don't care. I could care less, but
I hate walking out into a cloud of smoke and a bunch of people. I'm like, to go somewhere else.
I could care less if it is or isn't. I just think, again, people are going to read it and say, okay, we can't smoke now. We have to plan on how to police our guests, which is fine.
It's like he said, it's going to be discretionary, and it's only going to become a problem when somebody blows it in the face of Paul Blart and Paul wants to arrest him. That's the only time it's a problem. That is the only time the non-smoking bans become a problem. I've seen it a million times at the ball games, and he's right. I'd say 101 out of 101 times the offending smoker goes downwind and it's like, cool, no problem, and watches the game from a distance.
Are we going to be enforcing that?
Mayor Bruska.
Why can't we just make a designated smoking area?
Yes, that's what we're up here saying.
I agree.
Smoking area.
I just mentioned that to Lisa.
I mean, you put a designated smoking area, and that way if some yahoo decides to smoke up on the patio, someone could say something and say, hey, the designated smoking area is over there.
Put a rock.
And guess what? You're 150 feet from any of the playground products or anything like that. You just put an area down there by the dumpster, and we can put a little ash can out there, and all of us nasty smokers can go out there and congregate.
Jeez. That's a really good idea. Also, because then we would have a receptacle out there, because I don't want cigarette butts all over the park.
Right. Can't you just say within 100 feet of blah, 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 or within designated smoking areas? And then you can.
I can't. Put a sign. Put a sign.
And get discretion to make an area.
I like it.
Dumpster bites. We will have a dumpster
Don't put dumpster.
No, I know. I meant on that end of the building. Put it out in the parking lot somewhere.
I have a butt collector I can put out there.
See, we could have been done with this 15 minutes ago.
Justin Price saved a bunch of fights and arguments in the future, though. He's right. People will be bitching about that.
Mr. Hannon, do you have anything?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for bringing this to us, Greg. Great information. Excited for the thing to be open. My question is on behalf of youth programs that may be interested in renting this out. For example, I know that they're like the youth football program. They rent the auditorium at the high school for their awards because that's really kind of one of the only spaces available.
Right.
But I think this would be a great place for like a youth organization to host an awards assembly or whatever you want to call it. But it says that I wonder if there's a way to have different kind of minimums for a youth program, and these are just ideas that I have coming to my mind. I run a youth program myself. We host an awards thing. It's 1 hour long, but we may need, 2/3 instead of 1/3, and it says 1/3 can be rented for 1 hour during a business hour. But if it's on a weekend and there's nothing planned and it's properly booked and reserved ahead of time, I was wondering if there's a way that, a 3-hour minimum wouldn't have to be, I can, in the future, when I would rent this facility for something that my youth program would use, I have no problem renting it for 3 hours.
Right.
But then you're getting into, it's more expensive, and then there's other options available, like using a school. And I feel like as a community center, we might want to offer, be able to make this more of a better accommodation for some of those programs instead of going and using another's facilities.
Yeah, so not knowing exactly what the demand's going to be for the facility at this point,
Right.
I didn't anticipate us having all this figured out before we open. I knew there's going to be all kinds of things that are going to happen the next couple of years. Youth organizations and nonprofit organizations is definitely something that's on the list to review for their use. We've already received requests for large multiple day events that are nonprofit organizations. So right now, we're currently at the resident rate for them because they're residents of the city. I don't know if we decide to discount it further for a nonprofit or a youth organization or so on and so forth. I don't have that answer yet because I just don't know the demand that we're going to see. It could be one organization, but it also could be 10. I have no idea. And if it's 10 youth organizations that we're giving it away at a discounted rate, then I'm not covering costs on staffing and cleaning and operating the building. So it's just something that we have to just discuss and think.
I just heard Tony mention it, but the senior center, that's going to be and then other youth groups, whatever you guys offer in your program. Are those people going to be required to rent this out as well, or is that kind of like?
No, this will be our program space.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking about youth programs is because our city kind of delegates that task to these organizations. Our city doesn't host youth baseball. Streetsboro Youth Baseball is its own separate organization. So if you're allowing other youth programs to use it for free
these are our programs. They're Parks and Rec programs that we're running out of the building. They're not outside organizations.
I get that, but Streetsboro Youth Baseball is a Streetsboro.
It is a Streetsboro-based 501c3. Yes,
but it doesn't. Our city doesn't offer that youth baseball. So
because it's already being offered.
Right. So I'm saying, in the future, if they want to use this space for an hour to hand out some awards, maybe it can be accommodated. I feel like we use, correct me, I have no idea what I pay to rent a pavilion at City Park. I don't even know if I have no idea. Usually my brother does that, so that part of the thing.
Right.
So I don't know if we rent that or not. I don't know if there's a fee for that, but we use it for like an hour. We clean up and we're out of there.
Right.
But
I don't think you paid for it, John.
It doesn't seem like it.
Probably. It's probably not that much money anyway. It's probably like $20 or something.
It's $30 for a resident for the pavilion.
Yeah. I think my brother wrote the check. So, anyways, it's just a thought that I had.
On your thought, could we include a paragraph in legalese that allows any of these provisions to be modified in writing ahead of the rental, just with the approval of the Director of Parks and Rec? That way we give Greg some leeway to say, yeah, we got nothing going on Thursday night. I can give you an hour, and let's, in writing, you and I sign this, Mr. 501c3, that says you don't have to get a cop and you don't have to do this and you're only going to pay X, and kind of just trust Greg to do that when he wants to. Couldn't we add a paragraph that empowers him to do that? Because it's not one size fits all.
Correct. Yeah. The different scenarios that are going to pop up with the use of this facility are going to be endless, really. I mean, so for the 1 hour handing out of uniforms, I know we've done it with baseball in conjunction with our basketball program, or trying uniforms on, or something like that. So we all work together for the common good. So those are situations where something like that where I would have discretion to be able to waive fees.
I did want to include it in the rules here that say any deviation from these rules and guidelines are subject to written approval by the director.
Yeah, so within our pricing guides and philosophy that was adopted 20-some years ago, that provision is in there for that purpose. So that would be, I would assume it'd be for the same.
What were that page?
No, this would be for the pricing guide. This was fees and pricing. It was probably passed 20-some odd years ago. It just basically is an outline of how we come up with our program fees. So that way, every program cycle, we don't have to have fees and program registration fees and stuff approved by council. It basically just lets you guys know we're following a certain formula and that we're doing it for the benefit.
Yeah, I haven't worked with you in the past. I know you exercise a lot of discretion. I just don't see it an empowering paragraph that allows you.
It wouldn't be in this. It'd be it'd be the other policy that this would fall on. This would kind of go into that. It would fall underneath that one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I have two more things, sorry. I guess what I'm trying to say is if it's a community center, the more events that we host there, the better.
Right.
And the more our youth programs and organizations use it, the better. I don't want it to come down to in the future like, yeah, we just started using this other space because our community center priced us out of it and it's booked up.
Right. And I don't disagree with you.
Right. And then the other thing was, I forget where I saw it at in here, but they can be booked up to 30 days in advance. And I was just curious when we were talking about the security, does that give the police department enough time to find a police officer?
I think it has to be hired. Like, I need notification from the police department 30 days in advance that they have somebody to fill that spot.
Okay. Well, I think somewhere in here it said that.
I think that was
events.
Or maybe, I don't know.
Events can be booked up to 30 days before. So if you have 30 days, if I book an event today for, March 12th, then the timeline is very limited. If I book,
that's going to be kind of one of those other areas that if you're renting it for this weekend, and you're going to need it, then everything seems to be fast tracked.
But I'm wondering if that gives them enough time.
Probably not.
To find. How does that work? I don't know if you guys bid out your overtime jobs at a certain time.
The side jobs just go out as they come in. So if somebody calls in on a Tuesday and says they need somebody Friday, then we immediately post it and it goes up and stays up for a certain period of time, and we'll wait and see if anybody signs up for it or shows interest. After that certain period of time, it's usually kind of fast tracked where you may have 24 hours to sign up for it, and if we don't, then we're going to kick it out to the other agencies. We've had people call and try and get somebody the next day. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We've also had people trying to book us out, months ahead of time, especially like for the schools and stuff. We know those way far ahead of time.
Yeah, so this would be 30 days before your event. We would like that form to be submitted to the police department so that they can start working on finding somebody for your event.
That's not required, right? Like she said, like if I say, Greg, I want to rent it next weekend, I'm going to call Trish today.
If you have it, then it's completely fine.
Okay. You're not going to say, no, you can't rent it. You're going to say you can't rent it until you have proof that you got a cop.
That'll say that.
Okay.
Is there also, when someone submits this form saying, hey, I'm having a wedding that has alcohol, are you guys submitting that, or are they required? Like if I book it for a wedding, are you going to tell the police department that, hey,
if they're getting the if they're getting the request for a police officer, then alcohol, that's part of the security deposit. There's going to be alcohol there. If you don't put that in, if it's a $250 event and you tell me that there's going to be no alcohol there, then there's no need to hire an officer.
But if there is alcohol, do I have to contact them and let them know I'm having an event, or do you contact them?
That would go through us. That would go through, you do the $500 security deposit, and then there's going to be an attached form that we'll give you to submit to the police.
Okay. That's all I had.
Mr. Ring.
Ms. Glenn.
Ms. Glenn.
I just had two questions, and the first one is about the security deposit. I was just wondering why the security deposit's the same amount. It doesn't matter if you're renting a third, 1/3 of the full space. The security deposit's $250 or $500 with the alcohol. So.
I believe there was one version we had it as the security deposit was equal to your rental price or $250. I would have to go through and look at this again to make sure that we took that out. I think it was just the understanding that one fee was going to be easier within us to try to keep track of multiple security deposit amounts.
I was just thinking that, it seems kind of high if you're only renting a third, but if you're renting the whole thing, maybe that's, no, I don't know. I guess it seems like it ought to be different prices in my mind, but,
I agree with that, because I look at it this way, being a homeschooling mom, I could see renting during the day for an hour for a program. And to think of paying a $250 security deposit, which actually I looked at other cities, that's higher anyway. I kind of marked it's high, but I thought the same thing. Like if we'd want to rent and have a program, that's a big deposit to pay, or if I say I want to do it again, that stood out to me too. So you're not alone in that, Mary Ann. I thought the same thing.
And then my second question is related to if trash is not disposed of, a $25 trash removal fee will be deducted from the deposit. I was wondering why we were limiting that to $25. What if somebody makes a huge mess in there?
That may come underneath their security deposit for the cleaning fee. I mean, that's just kind of...
The trash is just trash bags, right?
Yeah,
like
trash
they
is
didn't
just-
take their trash bags to the dumpster.
Yeah.
The mess is covered under a different portion. Like if you
It says right here.
if you leave it dirty, you're not getting any of your security deposit back.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 'cause there's a trash container.
I don't know, I guess it seems like maybe it doesn't even need to be in there then. I mean, how's it any different than if you made a big mess, you didn't take the trash out, that's part of the mess.
Aren't some of these just deterrents? Like, just so, you know what I
I don't
mean?
know,
Like,
I
it's
think
in there
it'd
to
be
deter you to take out the trash. It's in there to just keep you in check with your
Like,
rental.
why is it not just under number one? You're responsible to take your trash out, and, then it's at your discretion how much you're gonna charge if they didn't take the trash out.
Mr. Meiniger, I just have a few questions for you. First of all, I want to say that I really like this. I know you worked hard, and I know you're answering a lot of questions here. If the seniors decide that they want to have a winter ball or something, are they allowed to have that hall? Are they paying?
That'd be part of our programs. So then there would not be a direct fee there'd be maybe program fees, but that's our program.
All right. Secondly, after hearing, a lot of suggestions, I think we just have to be careful on who we're going to start offering discounts to right away. Like, we're trying to also maintain a facility, pay employees. So, I mean, obviously you're going to use discretion, but there's going to be a lot of questions. Why can I get a discount? Why can't I have 1 hour? Why you charge me for 2? So I think it could be a problem down the road if we start giving everybody discounts. That's just my opinion on it. And then lastly, I agreed with Mr. Ring about putting in there about the police being called. I do know your reason for that, and I understand it, but, if there's an issue between two people where one person told the other person something they don't like, now my butt, doesn't get the deposit back, and I'm going to be pretty upset. So I do understand a lot of it's in here to deter you, so that's all I had. Mr. Ring?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lombardo. I want to go just to the alcohol real quick. Caroline and I were talking before the meeting. And is alcohol permitted in city buildings anywhere at this point? No. So how do we rectify that?
So we would have to look at,
We don't have.
I guess I don't know if it's in our ordinances, if it's in our codified ordinances, or if it's in just our park rules or general or something like that, but then we would have to make an.
Don't you have a sign at the park right now that says no alcohol permitted in the city park?
Right, so then we would have to put some kind of an exception of during banquets or weddings or something of that nature that would say that it's permitted during the rental process.
Can we look at where that is? If it's an ordinance, we need to change it. We're going to have to draft a new one before we run anything with alcohol. Right. If it's just in the rules, you can probably just change the rules, right? We don't have to. Do we have to change them?
No, our park rules are.
Are they? Okay. So we would just have to adopt a new rule. But can we look into that just to make sure we're clear? I know we don't have to do anything with liquor control because we're not selling alcohol.
We're not selling
right.
Anything.
So, but I want to make sure our rules allow us to do what we want to do.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ring. Ms. Wagner?
A couple things. I agree with what you said about the police being called because you have people that can't get along and say an ex-husband shows up to an event and, first thing they do is call the police. So I agree with that part. Two, what happens if you have 30 days and they cannot find a police officer and Chief Wayne can't find a police officer? What happens to their event?
Well, if I give you that discretion paragraph, you could waive that.
Hypothetically, if it gets to that stage, we would have to look at. We might look at like a private security, something like that, where we'd have to hire just a private security person. Yeah, I mean, those are things that may come up, but yeah, at that point.
That last minute stuff, and you can't get an officer.
No, I agree. Jen, they could hire private security.
I would say that's going to probably be a last resort. We would prefer it to be them.
You can't because it must be a Streetsboro police officer.
But if we tried and we weren't successful, then you can't hire a private security company.
Miss Wagner.
The discretionary paragraph.
Yeah. Well, he said we already have it under the policy, but why don't we just put it in the contract and say, hey.
Approved by the director.
You want to put it in the guidelines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Covers you.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree because there's so many scenarios that could pop up.
It's in writing. If you guys do it in writing, it could be an addendum. I mean, at some point, we have to trust you to run the parts, we can't micromanage every division of this contract.
Yeah.
Okay. You had a question?
Thank you. I was just curious, under special arrangements, why we need to get this information about a caterer. So if the person renting must be present at all times and agree to all of this stuff and indicate if there's going to be sternos, do we need to ask what the catering company license number is? Do we need to know who's catering? I just didn't know why. If this is just extra paperwork, extra lines people have to fill out. We don't really need to know that.
No, I mean, if it's going to be a caterer that we know or that we can have worked with in the past, which we haven't worked with too many since we don't have a facility yet. But there may be some familiarities there with them. If it's a new one, we may want to reach out and probably give them the ins and outs of, hey, you're going to drop off here, you're going to do this is what your access is, things like that. If the renter is providing their own food and everything, then we don't need to worry about that.
Okay, I just wasn't sure, as I figured, well, if the renter has to be there the whole time, they're the point person, but maybe there'll be more interaction than I thought. And then, do we need their catering company license number?
That was suggested by a couple other organizations that rent, just as a safeguard for the individual who's renting or renting out the caterer.
Do all caterers have, like, what if I cater Chipotle? They don't have a license.
Then you don't, that's not a caterer, that's ordering food.
Sure.
But, I mean, it's more of a safeguard for, I would think, the person who's renting to make sure, like, hey, is this a reputable business?
Yeah, but I don't think we need to check if the business is reputable for the renter. That's just my thought.
Yeah, they have their own contract.
They've got their own contract with the caterer. I don't know if we need to worry about their license number. I think if we want to keep a record of good caterers, that's probably a good idea, because people might go, who caters? Do you know of a good caterer that works well here? And you'd say, yeah, so-and-so has done a great job. Just a thought that just stuck out to me. And, I had one more question. About the 1/3 hall setup, that seating capacity is 35 guests, and then when you multiply it out, it doesn't equal the
It's all
expanded.
based on how we're going to set the room up.
That's what I figured. I just wanted to ask. I figured.
And on the back, I listed a bunch of different options that we could possibly do, but it's all just going to be based on how much seating do you need, and what size tables we're putting out. We're putting out the big ones, we put out the small ones, we put out rectangles. So I would say it's low end, high end type stuff. It's just all going to be based on your seating capacity.
Mr. Hand.
And on the 1/3, like you list hall capacity, what is the smallest someone could rent out? It doesn't seem to have that listed. It says 35 per section, 1/3 section, but it doesn't list it under, I feel like under hall capacity, it should say full hall, banquet style, auditorium, like it lists 2/3, like it lists, and then 1/3, since 1/3 is.
Oh, those are just, for the hall capacities there, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Again, these were.
Because like, what if someone wants to
It's
have
all
like
based off of just like how they're going to set it up. So if I tried to give all the information of how they're going to, like if you set it up with 6-foot round tables and this many chairs per table, I mean, we would have just a pie chart, or not pie chart, but a big graph of all your options.
Let's put a range.
I can put the 1/3. It can be the same thing.
Yeah, but 1/3, and then 35 to 50 people, depending on the setup or whatever, go off somehow how you calculated the other two sections.
Okay.
That way, if someone decides to rent it for 1/3, they don't have to, they can just look right there what their options are.
There's not, there's not going to be too many options in a 1/3 spot. Okay.
The options for the 2/3 are the same. They're the same. Auditorium style, 80 to 100. Banquet style, 80 to 100. So I'm assuming the third is going to be 25 to 35.
Yeah,
45 to 35. So
we can put
It's nice to list it though, because it's already listed for the other two. So why not list all the options you have available? It doesn't necessarily have to be 25. It could be 10 people. So you can put 0 to
1 to 35.
Correct. So
you can rent the whole hall for one person.
I understand what you're getting at.
If I'm looking at this, not everybody's going to read the fine print of size of the rooms. They're going to look at the hall capacity and say, I have a party of 25 people, and my only option looks like to rent from 80 to 100 people. So where can I go that's a smaller option?
Okay.
But if you list 1/3, that's 0 or 1 to 50. Because a 5-year-old's birthday party is probably not going to have 100 people there.
My daughter did.
I went there, and it was like 10 people, so.
Okay, I'll look at that and I'll see how we can better display the information. Anything else?
I think we beat you up enough on that.
I appreciate that.
I know your head's spinning. Thank you for answering all the questions and trying to help out. It looks awesome, and we're excited to see what happens in the future. Okay, going on to K, T7556, amend ordinance number 2024-12, security cameras for the service department. Mr. Kaufman, I hope you're ready.
I'm ready. Thank you. This is basically just to amend the vendor that we were buying from. And then also with the discussion that we had at the last council meeting over the different camera options, I went back to the Ubiquity Solutions architect and just kind of asked why they were recommending the bullet camera that they were when there was other options available. And after discussing what we were going to be monitoring, they actually recommended just one of the more expensive bullet camera, just because of the distance that camera is going to be mounted for the fuel pumps. We need that extra strength. Other than that, we switched everything over to a smaller bullet camera, and they are recommending all bullet versus bullet and dome, because the dome gives more of a wide picture, and the bullet is going to be, for what we're trying to accomplish, it's going to be a lot easier for us.
What?
Mr. Ring.
What was the difference? I don't have the old packet to compare. What's the difference between the price and what the domes were and the Ubiquiti Professional AI 368 megapixel fisheye?
It was $89 per camera between the domes and the domes that we had on the last quote and these new bullet cameras.
These are $89 more?
$89 more, correct.
And then we went from what, 4 to 1?
Correct.
Of the
$2,500 ones.
Yeah, good. Okay.
So you upgraded on some cameras and then...
Correct, yes.
Cut down on the.
Got it.
Yeah, saved a lot on the other. Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Kaufman?
No further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
Mr. Miller, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, council. I just need to make a correction on one of the other T7551. If we could change the GL on that so that we don't have to bring this back on another night to 201-615453. That's where those expenses were budgeted out of. And that's all I needed.
Signal service 201-615453.
Correct.
Let's get a motion before I actually amend.
Yep, I'll make a motion to amend what was that? 7551, section 2, to read account number 201-615453.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. For the amendment, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Matt Miller.
Thank you, council.
Okay, and moving back to P7556, we need to make a motion.
I had a motion.
Mr. Ring had a motion, Mr. Hannon second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. 7556 will go to tonight's full council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 6, citizens' comments.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Mary Kay Reynolds, 9174 Olga Avenue. And I'm talking because of the seniors had a couple of questions to Mr. Meitinger that we would like to get cleared up, and also city council can know about it. We would like to know who is the cleaning company, and is it the company we had from before? And our question is why? Because we had problems with them. And the second one, is it our community center going to be a secured building? Are we going to have cameras placed inside in case rentals get out of control and they go, oh, we didn't do that? And then some of our stuff will get ruined, misplaced, damaged, stolen, whatever the problems might be. Or is our front door going to be a secure door to secure that no one can just walk in on us? Do we need a code to get in? Will our cards work the door? Different things like that. We wanted to know.
Yeah, so the building will be locked during off hours, open during open hours. There's going to be an entryway, leads into a concourse area with a reception area. Then we have the main event space that's going to be just beyond that. That's where the majority of the programming and the activities will take place. Off to the right, there is also going to be a multi-purpose room and a game room that is going to be designated for senior activities, and those will be locked during events, so they won't have any access to those. And we do have cameras in the building and around the building.
Yeah, we were mainly worried about the cameras in the building so nothing gets destroyed on us and they go, oh, we didn't do it. All right. All right, thank you. We're excited for this, so you all know.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Lamar.
Mr. Hannon.
I don't know if you answered about the cleaning company.
Yes, it will be the same cleaning company that we've had for the last couple of years.
And that's, Mr. Meiger, if I could just mention, we have that same company for all of our city buildings.
Correct.
So it's just something that we kind of contract out for all city buildings.
So I have a question. I'm just curious, what's the issue with the cleaning company? What are they not doing?
Well, the story goes that they busted coffee pots, and some of our paintings and things last time were, they were kind of ruined and everything. And the people there say, oh, we didn't do it, we didn't do it. And it finally came down after talking with them. The girl finally confessed, said, yeah, I did do it. And it's like, well, it's our stuff. We're going to be putting it away. We don't want them messing it up. We hired them to clean. We didn't hire them to break and ruin our stuff. And it's like, now we're hiring them again to come into our new building with our stuff. And it's like, oh, geez. And now we're going to use them to clean up after events and everything. And it's like, ooh. It's like, I don't know. For me, I would go, well, I would rather look or see if these people that were there aren't there anymore. And I don't know.
Mr. Meiger?
So the coffee pot thing was it fell off of the counter and she broke it. She cleaned it up and put it away. And then we did not see her till the next day when she came in to clean in the evening. And that time from when you guys came in until when she came in to tell us about it is when whatever stories you guys came up with about they're trying to hide stuff.
Yeah, they're just telling me now about some of the stuff.
That's all. You're hearing a third-hand story from a second-hand story. So believe me, there's no issues with our cleaning company. That's
good. That's good. I told them I would ask.
You're hearing a very old story.
All right. And I want to ask you, said about the reception area. Is that going to be manned all day long?
It will be. There will be staff in the building. Yes.
Not staff in the building. I mean, when you come into the
building,
reception area.
It is my goal to have staff members that will be at the reception area and in the building at all times. Yes.
All right, because you don't want, like, when the high school kids get out of school and stuff like this, and they go like the library and they hang out all the time. We don't want the senior center, community center being a hangout joint. We would like to make sure we're kind of secure.
Don't you hang out there all day?
No, just Mondays. I clean on Mondays. And I clean on Mondays.
It's a place for a community to gather, so not just the seniors, but other members of the community too.
I asked them for an example. They said like we're having a pool table, but I know it's going to be in a locked room.
Yeah.
All right. But they said, well, the parents say, well, I told my son he can go over there and play pool after school. Why can't he play pool? It's a community center. It's like, no, that's the senior center private pool table. It's under lock and key. Well, they're still saying they're sending the kids over. They could sit there and read, do homework, and whatever. But
they won't have access to that equipment, will they?
No. So once the senior center hours are over, those rooms will be locked.
Yeah, our things will be locked up. But they're still saying, what they're telling me is that they're still hearing, the parents are still saying it's a community center. They can still send their kids there after school.
Well, they can. The kids can go there. They won't have access to your
seems like it'll be locked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They won't have access to your equipment. Yeah.
And there won't be anything to do in the building unless there's an active program going on.
Right. Okay, that was about
If they want to go and just sit on the floor and read a book, that's what's the harm of it. Yeah.
Thank
you. They can go to the designated smoking area. You soon?
Thank you. 7 announcements. A regular council meeting will immediately follow this meeting. 8 adjournment.
Motion.
Second. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. This meeting is now adjourned.
Mr. Ring.
Here.
Mr. Bishop. Here. Mr. Hannan.
Here.
Mr. Lombardo.
Here.
Ms. Wagner. Here. Ms. McDaniel.
Present.
And Ms. Glenn.
Here.
Did I get everybody? All right, so this.
Everybody say here.
Yeah, you just.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Comments in about a minute. Sorry.
Okay.
Disposition of minutes, the regular council meeting on January 22nd, 2024.
Motion to accept.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, those minutes are accepted and disposed. Item 4, citizen comments. Come on up to the podium, state your name, and make your comments.
Be quick. But are we in the regular meeting now? Or
Yes.
Okay, but we wanted to make comments on the service meeting.
You can. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's fine. But, most of the topics are the same. So.
Okay, so Laura Lewis. Do I need to give my address? 1085 Sparrow Run. And I just want to put on record that very interested in the opt-out on the water meter. That's all. That's all I have to say right now.
Do you want to state like your argument for why you want to?
I don't right now because I wasn't really prepared.
Okay, that's fine.
We just came to listen, but I felt like I want to at least say that. And so there'll probably be phone calls to the water department about it.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
These new motor.
The new meter. She wanted to go on record that she is in opposition to being forced to accept the new meter. Go ahead, you can come on up.
Regina Rowan, 1338 Vantage Way. I'm of the same mindset. I had no clue this was happening. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't feel it's necessary. I feel there should be an opt-out for utilities like this, like the electrical. But I just want that to be on the record, so.
Do you, and you don't have to, but do you want to place some of your concerns onto the record just so we have what they are in regards to your opposition?
One comes to mind, what's going to happen to the workers who were going out to read our meters, which didn't seem like there was a problem there. I never had any issues with our reporting. Are they being let go? Are they being reassigned, new duties?
Absolutely not being let go. There's just a lot of maintenance that we are behind on, and this is going to help us assist in getting the maintenance done. So there's no intentions to.
And I understand if there's a leak in my house, which I don't happen to notice, it'll take 24 hours for you all to let me know.
Yeah.
Don't know how that's going to help me much, but again.
Well, a lot of times the toilet runs continuous, so it's running slow, but it's going, and then that meter will pick up that something that there is a problem there.
I guess I understand that.
If there was a pipe burst, it'll.
Well, that's instantaneous. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a totally different thing.
Right, but again, I don't feel I necessarily need you all to tell me my toilet's running. So those are just a few thoughts, but thank you.
No, thank you for putting it on record. Any other citizen comments? Come on up, state your name, your address, and go ahead and make your comment.
I'm Kristen Sink, 688 David Drive. I also am opposed to the enforcement of the water meters and not allowing an opt-out. I have a little bit of confusion on what the acoustic leak detection is. What exactly does that mean?
The meter can hear if the main out front is leaking, the water meter itself can hear that and relay that back to us.
What else does it hear?
That's it. It's just acoustic. There's nothing in that meter that hears anything other than that, and it's going off the sound of the water pipe going.
So it just automatically filters out any other sounds that would be...
It doesn't pick up conversations or anything like that. It can't hear anything of that nature, no.
Mr. Miller, so is it the pipe, it's tuned into the frequency or vibration of the pipe itself?
The pipes are whistling.
And when it changes.
You don't get that pitch and say there's a problem.
Right.
How loud that gets is how close you are. Actually, a smaller leak is louder. That's how it detects how close you are to it.
So it's basically the frequency of the vibration emitted from the pipe.
Through the pipe. There's
Not a microphone. It's not a microphone.
No microphones whatsoever, yes.
It's not Alexa.
No.
No. That's what.
Can't blame me for asking.
No?
And then what kind of signal is being sent? Is that a radio wave? What is that signal?
Like a copy.
I would appreciate that.
So about
I'll give you this. I'll make a copy as soon as we're done and hand it to you.
Radio signal.
Yeah,
radio.
Or what your cell phone puts out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for. Great. Any other citizen comments from the podium? Hearing none. Moving on to just our reports, communications from department, boards, and commissions. Chief, you're up first.
Thank you. Everybody's receiving the activity summary, correct?
Yes.
This explains what we've done over that period of time, mutual aid, which we've received, which we've given, the EMS calls. Highlighted in red is when we get all the calls at once. Basically, we've been doing a paramedic refresher and ice rescue last Friday. And I'm not crying because there's no ice. I'll take the warm weather over the ice. But we have it scheduled for another 2 weeks. And usually we have a good news when something very positive happens. We have a testimonial, the patients coming up here. But instead, I have a letter that I'd like to pass out to the council members if I can approach the bench.
Yep. Good. If you want to keep talking.
Without getting into the specifics, it was a call, it was an emergency medical service call, an ambulance call for an individual who's having some severe problems. We arrived and the patient wasn't breathing properly. We assisted respirations. Patient's heart stopped. We started getting going again. So due to the fast and professional actions by the paramedics on scene, he was taken to the hospital fully conscious and aware, and he survived. And this is his thank you for a second chance on life. And the bottom is his acquaintance who was there and witnessed it all, and she was very grateful. And it's just nice to get good news. I just wanted to share that with council.
What's it? How did they have to do it? It was like a STEMI or something, or?
No, this is more a drug overdose.
It's a drug overdose.
Yeah, drug overdose. Young individuals, half my age.
So 20?
Oh, thank you.
20.
Right.
All right.
I'll just say no news is good news. It's late and I'm sure you guys want to go.
Any other department board wish to speak, raise your hand. All right, you're up. You don't need it.
So you may not see activity at the city center site. They're pulling off due to the weather. They've done everything they can do without moving massive amounts of dirt. And right now it's just mud. So if anybody's wondering why they're not out there, that is why. They did complete the water main from 43 to the fire department that you all approved as a change order. So thank you. And that went very well. And we are out to bid for the splash pad. So hoping to get some good bids here soon. That's all I have.
Thank you, Justin. Anyone else? Last chance, going once. And moving on to introduction of legislation containing statement of emergency. D7 Oh, wait a minute. You want?
Yes, Mr. Mishniak, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the three read rules for T7547, T7548, T7549, T7550, T7551, T7552, T7553, T7554, T7555, and T7556.
All right, we have a first to suspend the rule requiring 3 full readings. All in favor? Or we need a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
No.
Roll call.
Okay, so motion to suspend, Mr. Ring,
Yes.
Mr. Hannan,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo,
Yes.
Ms. Glenn,
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak.
Yes. All right.
I'm good.
Now, T7547, support House Bill 321 for statewide special needs database. Read by title, please.
A resolution urging the Ohio Legislature to adopt House Bill 321 requiring the statewide 9/11 Steering Committee to establish a statewide database and declaring an emergency to expedite the process.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo,
Yes.
Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
Ms. Glenn,
Yes.
Mr. Hannan,
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak.
Yes, T7547 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-21. T7548, accept OCJS grant for body-worn cameras. Read by title, please.
A resolution accepting a grant from the Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services in the amount of $20,134 to be utilized by the Police Department for the purchase of 16 body-worn cameras, extended warranties, and related accessories, and declaring an emergency to utilize the funds.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo,
Yes.
Ms. Glenn,
Yes.
Mr. Hannan,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak.
Yes. T7548 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-22. T7549, purchase body-worn cameras. Read by title, please.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract without competitive bidding with Midwest Public Safety Group LLC for the purchase of not to exceed 16 body cameras with accessories, data storage services, and extended warranties for use by the police department, and declaring an emergency in order to place the cameras into service as soon as possible.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
First and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo,
Yes.
Ms. Glenn,
Yes.
Mr. Hannan,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak.
Yes, T7549 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-23. T7550, written mutual aid agreement with the city of Aurora. Read by title, please.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a mutual aid agreement for emergency police services with the city of Aurora and declaring an emergency to implement the agreement.
Motion to adopt.
Second?
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yeah.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Ms. Wagner?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes, T7550 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-24. T7551, annual maintenance agreement with Signal Service. Read by title, please.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract without competitive bidding with Signal Service Company for the purchase of the city's annual requirements for maintenance and repairs to the city's traffic signal system during 2024 and declaring an emergency in order to maintain continuity of services.
Motion to adopt
As amended.
as amended.
Second?
We have a first and a second as amended to adopt the legislation. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Ms. Wagner?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes, T7551 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-25.
Caroline, just to be clear, I made the second on that.
Sometimes I can't hear. Okay, thanks.
T7552, two-year contract with GPD for engineering services. Read by title, please.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Klaus Pyle, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc. for on-call general engineering services and specialized engineering services for the period January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2025, and declaring an emergency to expedite the contracts.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and a second, roll call, please.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Ms. Wagner?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes, T7552 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-26. T7553, two-year contract with EDG for engineering services. Please read by title.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Environmental Design Group for on-call engineering services and specialized engineering services for the period January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2025, and declaring an emergency to expedite the contract.
We have a first on the
Motion to adopt.
Second.
first and a second to adopt the legislation. Roll call, please.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes, T7553 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-27. P7554, apply for and accept BRIC grant for stormwater study. Please read by title.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and/or his designee to apply for and accept a Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, administered through the Ohio Emergency Management Agency, to perform stormwater studies for the Valley Brook subdivision and surrounding areas, and declaring an emergency in order to expedite the grant application process.
We have first.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and a second on the floor. Roll call, please.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Ms. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes, T7554 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-28. T7555, adopt fourth quarter code updates. Did we have an amendment to that or no? Was that the next one?
Next one.
We did have one amendment to that?
No.
Okay. As written then, read by title, please.
This is an ordinance approving the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of the city of Streetsboro, and declaring an emergency so that the amendments are in effect immediately.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Second, roll call, please.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Ms. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes. T7555 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-28. Is that right? 29. T7556, amend ordinance number 2024-12. Security cameras for service department. Clerk, read by title, please.
An ordinance amending Section 1 of ordinance number 2024-12 to authorize an additional vendor in addition to Ubiquity, Inc. for the purchase of not to exceed 12 cameras with accessories for use by the service department, and declaring an emergency in order to place the cameras into service as soon as possible.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and a second, roll call, please.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
And Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Ms. Wagner?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes. T7556 passes and now becomes ordinance number 2024-30. The next item on the agenda is item 7. Items up for first reading. We have T7557, 7558, and 7559. Please read T7557, authorize annual waterline replacement and repair parts.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contracts without competitive bidding with various vendors for the purchase of the city's requirements for waterline replacement and repair parts during 2024.
Next item for first read is T7558, authorize annual hydrant replacement and repair parts. Please read first read.
This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contracts without competitive bidding with various vendors for the purchase of the city's requirements for fire hydrant replacement and repair parts during 2024.
P7559, authorize annual asphalt paving products and services. Please read first reading.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contracts without competitive bidding with various vendors for the purchase of asphalt paving products and incidental paving services necessary for the city's 2024 asphalt preservation program.
That concludes all items up for first read. Moving on to item 8 on the agenda, items up for second reading. P7546, minor text amendment to zoning code, sections 1152.02, site plan review. Clerk, please read a second reading.
An ordinance amending section 1152.02 of Title V, Part 11, Planning and Zoning Code of the Codified Ordinances relating to mandatory subjects of site plan review by the Planning Commission.
Next, the AP Mayor's Report. I'm good. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the spirit of brevity, item 11, I'm good as well. We will move on to council members' comments. Item 12, let's start with Mr. Ring.
Thank you, Mr. Michniak. Mr. Amalia, how are you?
Well, how are you, sir?
You've been very quiet tonight. I figured I'd change that for you.
Thanks.
When's Popeye's opening? No, I'm totally joking.
Just get ready. Because I got pictures for you.
No, seriously, I see movement at the new Aldi site. Are they starting to clear and
I'm in discussions with the developer, not them. What I have recommended that they were to do, if they wanted to take advantage of tax incentives for things that we've previously discussed, would be to wrap both of those projects together, because that's what makes the most sense for us. If they choose to ignore that advice, that is on them.
I just see already land being cleared and stuff up there, so
I'm aware.
Okay.
Then it does affect other things that we've discussed, and let them know about that, and they're going to do what they're going to do.
Perfect. Thank you. Other than that, I have nothing.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Mr. Menninger for answering all the questions in regards to the new building. I know it's not easy and it's probably taking up a lot of time, so thank you for that. And Chief Reinholz, thank you for sharing this letter. I know that these are the things that really matter the most, and when you come back after running the call, you do it again and again and again and again, and then you just, eventually it just becomes numb and you don't think about it. So these letters mean a lot, so tell them thank you for a good job, and happy Valentine's Day. Caroline is my first Valentine. Thank you.
Damn.
I just want to say that it was great. This is the first meeting since I was elected that there were multiple citizens speaking up about different topics, and that is what is essential to a functioning government, is resident input. And so I thought that was really heartening tonight, that there were different topics, different people here listening. That's great. And also happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I love all of you. So does Jesus. And that's all I've got for tonight.
Mr. Hannon.
I'm good, thank you.
Hey, Jennifer.
Good, thank you.
I'm good. Very good. On then to announcements. Item 13, City Hall will be closed on Monday, February 19th, 2024 in observance of President's Day. There will be a public hearing, zoning text change for site plan review, a finance committee meeting, a regular council meeting, all of these things occurring on Monday evening, February 26, 2024, starting at 7 p.m. here in council chambers on February 26th. I will need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
First and a second, all in favor to adjourn? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Okay, that one I could have figured out. That one
I had to make sure in my mind.
I had the hoppy, right?
Yeah.
I'm writing down your thing.
So it's 21 or 30. You? Right.